Hope everybody has had a good morning, a good week. Not gonna lie, it's been a tough, emotional week. We all know things have been going on in the news, you know, with you know, police-related matters. So, so it's been a tough week. So I was definitely looking forward to the show I did on Monday. And I do a video game stream at Rivals of Waterdeep, so I was looking forward to that. We were playing through Spiritfarer. Oh my god, y'all! We got to this really emotional part. It was really cool to experience that with my community over there, where like I play D&D. Um, but now we are here, so let's talk about Kids on Bikes, y'all. So here's the situation. Next episode is the finale of this seasonal arc because we were originally signed for 10 episodes. So we're still looking for any indication from Roll20 that we will be continuing on. Now, I think the show is supported well, but like we don't know, right? So I want to make sure that there is a satisfying conclusion, right? That also leaves room for things in the future. I like to think about it as a TV season, right? You want to have like a satisfying arc. Um, Honestly, I think about um, a game that I think has probably the most satisfying seasonal arc to me is probably Mass Effect 2. Like it has a really dramatic start. You're kind of wondering what's going on. It sets up a lot of questions. They set really early what the problem is, and the rest of the game is just recruiting people, testing their loyalty. Actually earning their loyalty, and then basically going on this like suicide mission. Because it's what you believe is right. So whenever I'm planning like a arc of a campaign, because even if you're not streaming, right, like you still want to have story arcs that have your players invested, right? You don't want to just have things just continually happening with no end in sight. Um, Always think about you know having some questions at the beginning, making sure that you are weaving those in, and then make sure that you have something that, even if it doesn't answer every single question, it does answer like the main question, you know, um, because like otherwise players can kind of feel like, like what's it all for, you know. So that's what we're gonna do in the next episode. Um, I usually try to keep these streams spoiler free from any of the episodes. For this one in particular, I might be mentioning some things from past episodes. Not huge things, but things that might be considered some spoilers. So, no spoilers for what's coming up next, of course. But I might mention some things as we look for what we want to include for our finale. We will have two more episodes after the finale. A bit of an epilogue of sort, kind of like a 2 episode side thing. But that's going to be a little zanier and like kind of separated, kind of like separate from from well, it'll be some overlap, right? But the idea is that tomorrow, sorry, not tomorrow, on like a Monday is like we've closed off this chapter, and then like the mini kind of side thing is like let's let's have a little fun with all this new knowledge that we have, right? um all right, so question from our wonderful mod Salty Ginger: do you edit as you go along, like when players do super off the rail stuff? Do you move around stuff, cut stuff, add stuff when you have a limited amount of time for the arc? Oh yeah, oh yeah, all the time. So the way that I write is I write, and I mentioned this in some of my earlier GM prep streams. I believe in creating outlines, so I don't write out specific narrative too deep. So I like bullet points, that kind of outline the journey that I want the players to go on. Um, and if the players decide that something else is more important, I'll move things around. So I might introduce someone earlier. I might not introduce anyone at all. You might notice that there's a few characters that we haven't met yet, and it's because I didn't want to just throw characters at the players that weren't really developed. You know, like we haven't seen a lot of Alexa von um, Tebergen, right? Who was like the head of the paper, um, and we haven't met Bitly at all as well. You know what? Let me bring up actually my session zero document and kind of show y'all some of the stuff that we got out of that session zero. And yeah, let's actually go through that. Yeah. Let me zoom. Yeah. So we have Bitly, Spellbound, Chadwick, and Homegrown, right? So remember that um in our universe, we're in the town of Techburg, right? And Homegrown is the sort of the historical I always forget if it's preservation or preservation, but the historical preservation society, um, and they are led by Bitly Spellbound Chadwick. So at Chadwick, right, and they are basically trying to make sure that when people learn about the history, that it's kind of clean, right? So they like throwing out those alternative facts and that fake news and like all that. Love a good epilogue. They're like reverse episode zeros. Yeah, yeah, and that is definitely the idea. Is I'm gonna put them in a situation that is gonna be pretty fun, and gonna have some overlap with what we did at the last sim. So um, cool. Yeah, cool. Good questions about a Discord as well. I'm in way too many Discords right now. I actually need to exit some Discords because I have a lot of them. Yeah, so we've mentioned homegrown, but we haven't really talked about Bitly. But I haven't really introduced her because there's just been, I mean, we have a lot of characters right now, and sometimes when you're creating a world, you want to make characters and things that are sort of in the background that the characters don't necessarily interact with. I think about it as like, you know, when you're making, say, a map, right? Say I was making a map of Wisconsin, right? Which is where I live now, right? So if I'm making a map of Wisconsin, obviously I'm include all the detail of every single place, but I might not go everywhere, right? But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's still there on the map. And if I saw a map of just things that I interacted with a lot, it would feel fake, right? Like it wouldn't feel like fleshed out. So when we had that session zero and we created some of the names and places that we see here on this document, I went in like, we're probably not going to meet all these people. So unless the player specifically ask for these characters, I'm not really going to include them in here, you know? So we've not met Bitly and Homegrown. Um, we have also, uh, you're asking, am I Ice Cube son? No, no, no. I've had to face that a lot because I do share the name um, of that, but I'm not him. All right, so um, yeah, so we got homegrown. We have the Chemty water treatment plant, which you've definitely mentioned a lot, but we haven't really gone there. But we have kind of wrapped that in to the history of Techburg, and we've talked about how in the past ChemT was like aligned with the students of T Bergen High. They did a whole bunch of research into these caves, and they found this like hidden material, and blah 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 happened, and it ended in an accident, right? And now ChemT has actually left, right? Techburg, but the remains of the factory are still there. But in the previous two episodes, we've been in an older version of Techburg, and where we ended last time was we're actually heading toward this factory. And this factory here on the map, so the lower left part of the map, let me just zoom in a bit here. Yeah, so this here, if you see the windmill there, so this is actually where they generate like the power, right? For the town. So this is the factory of Techburg, as it used to exist, right, in the Prohibition era, right? So the idea is that this is the quote unquote chemty of this time, right? It's like a big industrial power, that like provides jobs and power and like all that stuff, right? And everybody's heading here now, so we will get answers, uh, next episode, because like we'll be heading to this place that we have not been to, but kind of has this like mysterious background. Um, Actually, to be honest, I thought the players would go here earlier because it was a key part of the sorry, not of the GM prep of the session zero, right? So we basically had that the economy was starting to flower to like flounder, and we basically had this huge chemty thing, and it's owned by the T-Bergen family, and we basically had this enormous um, accident here. We had like a homegrown that is like trying to, not focus on the shady parts of the like history. So a lot of stuff that we've seen in the past two episodes that have had to deal with the history is something that homegrown has tried to like scrape away, you know. Um, and then we like identified all these landmarks, and we've pretty much talked about all these landmarks here. Um, and we've definitely met Felix, right? He's actually become probably the main NPC that we've dealt with, which is pretty fun, to like deal with him as well. Um, Coach D, we definitely met with a little bit earlier, but he's kind of turned into someone that is not that aware of what's going on. But he's been like a pretty fun, like, fun character. So he's actually been a good example to the question that we got in the chat from a salty ginger about ever drop things or move things around based on the interests of the characters. So I had bigger plans for Coach T. He's the principal NPC. Thank you, Butt Prince. Thank you for that. I wish I had some drums so I could play a little but didn't don't have them. Actually, my wife does have a drum, kind of like far away though. I don't want to get it. But yeah, I had big plans for Coach D, and like he was fairly involved, right? Um, um, but I think that it just made more sense to keep the plot moving, um, especially as we shifted time, to kind of leave him in a certain time period, right? So we haven't seen a lot of him in the last couple episodes because we've uh we've shifted time basically. Oops, excuse me. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Coach D, yeah, well, I mean we don't know if he's, alive or not, but we don't have any indication that he did not survive. Um we just know that, he is sort of aware because he accused four when we saw him of being like one of them, right? And he kind of confessed that he's kind of seen over his shoulder. He feels like he's being watched, and he feels like that that like there was like a um another version of him that was kind of on like an Overwatch thing. So he's like been exposed to things, but um he has not expressed any like I know exactly what's going on. As a matter of fact, last time the players saw him, right, the players were abducted, right, by Mary, and they were locked in a room with Coach D, and they actually had to leave him in there, right, because like Felix kind of busted him out, and but he said I can only let like the kids out. So last we know, Coach D is locked away in this room. Did I think I would spend this much time on Yield Techburg? I kind of wanted to see how they reacted to it. I thought it might be an episode. Like I definitely wanted to spend at least like a good like 3 hours there. Didn't expect to be here this long, but they seem to be enjoying it. So I'm like, hey, kind of let it ride. You know, and that's one big thing you want to think about when you're GMing, right? Is definitely have plans like a plan A or a plan B when you're introducing a new environment, right? You want to make sure that you can gauge whether your players are feeling it or if they're kind of if they're like going through the motions, right? Hey Sphinx. Um yeah, so it's a little harder to do when you haven't been playing with players for a while. But if you've been playing for them for a little bit, and by a little bit, I just mean like a couple of hours, maybe. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a long term kind of campaign. You should be able to have a sense when they're excited or not. And if you don't, you should make sure to have some debrief sessions after your game or even before your game where like y'all can just talk about how people are feeling, what kind of ideas that like they have, right? Make sure that you remember that GMing, just a tabletop in general is a collaborative experience, right? It's not just like I'm the GM, I have all the notes, and I'm gonna control every single thing, right? You want to incorporate things that the players are also excited about, right? That's the whole reason why we created this document here, right? We all sat down and we all came up with the name of the town, the location, the mayor, all this stuff. These doomsday preppers, of which Meadow is like a part of. So we created all this in the session zero. Now, I understand that some other systems like Dungeons and Dragons or Savage Worlds or like, all the other systems, not all of them have a specific like sit down and create the world together. But in a system like Kids on Bikes, it really benefits because even after your session zero, when you create the world, you can continue to mine that by going back to like people and like asking them like, hey, like what characters do you think should like be here, right? Or like, what's the name of this character, right? So make sure that they still can put on their GM hat a little bit, even after the game starts, after session zero ends, because it'll make sure that they invested, So session zero is where it's kind of like not forced, but it's like part of the game. So it's like, you are contributing because that is written in the player, in the core rule book, right? That you have to talk about, you have to answer these questions to establish like relationships and all that, right? But what you want to do is make sure that that energy is continuing. So you might have like a notice. There might be times. So like for example, there were times in the earlier episodes, right, where like a character, they might say like, yeah, like I was coming from math class and my teacher was acting weird, and then I would say, well, what's the name of this teacher? Or like tell me a little bit about who this character is. So I'll have them actually define the character, and then maybe I use them or maybe I don't. But it's still like that fleshing out that background, like making the world feel more real. And I did end up using that character that we found kind of later in like a kind of supernaturally sleeping like position, so there's a whole bunch of things that like you want to do to make sure that feeling of collaboration is not just limited to session zero, right? That it's something that's all throughout your game. So, all right, so I'm not touching the XSplit screen again. I'd be scared now. Um, Weird, because I normally don't have a problem with that, but you know how it goes. It's like always when you have the least amount of problems that you go through. All right, so let's continue to go through these notes. So we found out something very interesting about Eric Foreman. So I won't say exactly what that is, if because that is a pretty big spoiler if you haven't seen the past episodes. But we did find out a lot about Eric Foreman actually. Um, we went to the quarry. We kind of had like a mine cart scene under the quarry, which was awesome. Kind of like a dimly lit area, which was a map that we built here. That was really a lot of fun. Um, we've been to the school. We haven't been to the rival school, right? So we did mention that they kind of, that they kind of like uh, because they are the Techburg turnips and they're right next to the turnip grounds, right? Um, that like there are like that like they um, have a rivalry, right? And if you remember, Felix originally said that like one of the reasons he put the lock, like the keypad lock, on the science lab was to prevent, this rival school from running pranks or like stealing experiments, all that kind of stuff. Was he telling the truth? Did he just put it on there because he knew like some of the stuff that's going on? I mean, he clearly knows something, right? He just is a bit aloof and doesn't know it all, you know. Even though I love how like Noir's character four, thinks he might be playing like the long con, like he's doing some like Sith like 2,000-year-old plan to infiltrate like bureaucracy and create the empire, you know. Um, so he's not he's not Palpatine, but he's just an aloof guy that got in way under his head. Um, yeah, so the rival school seems like a great hook for season two. Yeah, so that's another thing with with the world building, right? Is if you do choose to continue, like you do have a lot of material to mine from. You don't necessarily have to create whole new stuff. Yeah. Well, hey, and if y'all want a season two, make sure to send Roll 20 a little tweet or a little email, just like, hey, I like kids on bikes, just a small thing. Ooh, Prince of Palpatine. I don't know how I did not think of that, but he might tell you the tragedy of Darth of Darth Plagueis while he's sitting in an opera with you. You never know. You never know with Felix. You know. All right. So yeah. And then we had all these rumors here. So we've covered a bunch of these rumors. The bootlegger caches, we absolutely did. The tunnels, we like did. The bootlegging gangs never left Paul while keeping video franchises. So you see that? So we actually directly addressed that rumor because when I saw that one in a session zero, I was like, that's such a cool idea. So I definitely wanted to integrate that into our story. In the local paper, trying to write a story by Alexa von Tiebergen. Now we've introduced Alexa twice, but haven't really talked to her or met her or anything. So we haven't really talked a lot about that yet. The beef between the Chadwicks and the T-Bergens, we've mentioned a lot. Um, that the Doomsday Preppers are hunting or being hunted. We did mention that. So we mentioned that, that there were attacks and that and that Meadow's mom wants to help people out, right, by sending them like supplies through like the tunnels and like all that stuff. Um, Homegrown trying to cancel. We did mention that the Turnip Festival was canceled. And we did mention that the turnips were bigger. We have brought in Amelia Dandervitten a couple times actually, and we brought her in sort of multiple areas. So she'll actually have she's actually had a fairly decent role. Like it hasn't been as big as Felix, but we have had that. Um, and that the mayor is dating Alexa. We haven't explicitly said that, but we've definitely thrown some nuggets out there that said that they definitely care for each other at the very least as friends, right? Um, we don't really know like how far that goes yet in the narrative, but like that idea comes from these rumors that we have here. Yeah, so we've kind of integrated quite a bit of them in there. Um, and it's always fun because again, you want to make sure that you're building a story, right? But your story doesn't need to have every single thing because it's kind of hard to wrap all that stuff up into a regular story. All right, so let's zoom out here into Yeo Techburg. Um, we've gone through quite a bit. As you can see, I have a few characters here that are hidden on the GM info layer, right? So I was gonna pop them out. I had Amelia here that I popped out, and then I had some other characters here that I could pop out, but I chose not to, because like again, I don't want to overwhelm the players with information, and that's an important thing. If you're building maps in Roll20, always remember that you have these three layers, right? You have the map layer, the object layer, and the GM layer. And obviously, like the map layer is like the background, the object layer are things that you move around, right? So the map layer here is like the roads and all that stuff, and the object layer are things like characters that I can move around, right? And the GM layer are things that I have access to, but the players can't see, right? So like I want to make sure that I usually put a lot of characters in the GM layer, and then I will pop them out of the GM layer into the object layer as need be, right? Either the story says that we need a new character, or the players themselves are asking about a specific character, right? So so like yeah, that's like a good tip is to populate your map with a bunch of different characters that could possibly be like in there, but keep them all in the GM layer, and so that like you're like ready if like a character asks to meet someone, or like if they say like I'm digging around here, you might have a character actually roll up and introduce like themselves, right? Like what are you doing there or whatever, right? So like you give both the players opportunities to like say I'm looking for character A, or you give the characters opportunities to kind of force interaction with the players. I usually like that because it makes the world feel more real, right? You definitely don't want it where every character is only introduced because the players are specifically seeking them out, because you want these players to have their own lives, right? To exist outside of the game. So it feels like when you walk into them, they're not just uh like people that give you quests in like video games that just like stand in the same place and don't move, and they seem like they're existing for you and not for themselves, right? So like yeah, and yeah, in terms of like characters, make sure they have a routine and like a schedule, and that the interactions that they have with the players are something that like are where they're in the middle of doing something, or like you got to schedule like a meeting with them, right? All those kind of things. Now, Kids on Bikes kind of helps with that because a lot of the games will take place in things like families or schools, right? Because because like even though there is an adult character type, most people that like I played this game do tend to play as like kids, right? So like you have those that built-in kind of social order and that like expected kind of deference to parents and to teachers, even your principal guys. You gotta show that deference to Felix, you know. So you kind of have these like ingrained in like social things, and not that your characters have to follow those exactly, but you know that those norms exist, right? So like your character can choose to either follow them or like subvert them, right? So like I love how like the background of my Kids on Bikes helps you automatically set up some like relationships, right? Um, Now definitely make sure that you're setting some lines and veils with your players though. And what lines and veils means is you always want to talk about what content that you consider to be safe and what content that that your players might not feel comfortable like navigating in the game, right? So because there's some family situations that you might not want to talk about, right? I mean, a person might have had a really bit triggering experience with a family member or a sibling, and they don't want to be like reminded of that, you know. So like I know that as a GM, it's really easy to get excited about trying to plan out all this family stuff. Make sure you know, have a conversation with your player base so that you know what lines kind of not to cross and what veils that like you know if you start to wander into, you can like immediately change the subject. You also want to make sure that you have some sort of method for your players to let you know in game that you might have either reached something that was on a list that you didn't notice, or you reach some kind of topic or concept that even if it wasn't originally in your session zero, that your character just feels like triggered about, right? A lot of people use what's called like a X card system, where like everybody gets a card with like an X on it, and a player can just like hold it up, and then the GM automatically knows to to stop immediately with the current thing that they're telling and to move on to like another one. That that way you don't have to completely stop the game and talk about it and break the flow, right? If you're streaming a game as like we do, right? Obviously you can just like put like an X in the Zoom chat or Discord chat or like whatever application that like you're using to run your game, right? So I'd highly suggest that you definitely talk about that stuff early on, like the lines and like veils, and that you have some sort of system that lets your players kind of notify you as like a GM, right? You never want to be too so invested in your story that it takes precedence over the comfort of your players, right? If someone's uncomfortable, you got to be ready to completely switch gears, maybe even throw out, maybe it's something that you worked on for like a while, and like you might feel offended, right? If they don't like, you know, really love it, right? But make sure that you are always player first. And that is especially important when it comes to like things of like a safety. As Salty Ginger says, people greater than story to make it all mathy, right? Yes, he did use an inequality So now we're in a math session. Now the rest of this is going to be all math. Something fell. Just grab it. Oh, sorry about that. Um, yeah. So, and Salty Ginger just put some great resources in the chat on like a safety stuff. There's a bunch of like free resources out there. I know that like Kiana Shaw has made a bunch of like great things out there. Um, so like you don't have to create your own stuff, right? There's a whole bunch of like templates of like things out there. So make sure that you know check it out. All right, so we're gonna move from Yeo Techburg to our first Techburg map, right? So this right here on the lower left is the Chemty, is the abandoned plant, right? And if you remember before, we had some maps, some warehouse maps that we were building, right? We so we had this outside map. If you remember, I was really excited about a forklift lifting another forklift, which I thought was pretty funny. Um, so we have some abandoned trucks. We have like some new trucks and some abandoned trucks, and this kind of like grate in the middle. We also had. Wait, I lost track of where I was. Yeah. So the insides. So we basically had these storage things here, and if you remember, we had some boxes that had some turnips. We also had some tentacles in here, guys. So yeah, we're gonna see some fun stuff there. Um, and I think that's all we had for Kempty. Um, but what basically we're going inside of the factory, right? But the old factory. So what I want to do today is like this stuff is from like the new Kempty, right? This isn't how something would look in this era in this like small town of Techburg, right? So let's try to find. Let's make a new map. Let's make that and drag it up here. And let's actually move some stuff around so that everything we have is on one page. So far, we have used all these things, which is pretty good. Well, we haven't used the forest stuff, um, but like we have like gone through all these maps, and we still have this thing of like unused assets, right? So if you remember, what I like to do is to create a page where I just get stuff from the market and just plug it in here, and then eventually use it, and then I delete it from here. So I'm actually going to delete this map because we did use that for the quarry. And I think everything else we did not use. I think we're all caught up with that stuff. Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah. So what so like we want to go into this new map here. It's untitled. And let's just call whoop, sorry about that. I like bumped into the microphone. So let's just call this factory or windmill factory. How about that? Type it out. Remember to press enter. Oh, I misspelled factory. That's embarrassing. Windmill factory. All right. So let's just look in our market for Just old factory. I mean, that's a cool thing to try to think about. Oh wait, I was in the wrong part. I was in the notes section. That's the wrong thing. Um, yeah, so we're not looking for tokens. We're actually looking for maps, tiles, and textures. So I'm gonna restrict my results to that. And then we're gonna look for old factory. Yes. So there's nothing in my library. Might be something in the purchases though. Huh. What is this? Ooh, that's a disgusting forklift. Warforge factory. So battle map, I don't think is really gonna work. Um, but I am kind of curious just to see what it looks like. Yeah, let's just check it out. Let's just see what it looks like in detail. So wow, this thing is tiny. Oh, oh yeah, this is on the map layer probably. Yeah, so obviously this is not something that we're really looking for because this is like this is like the it's a Warforged map, right? This is not like an old factory thing. So I like it though, but not quite what I'm looking for. These silos, I guess we might be able to do something with some silos. Um, I'll leave it there for now. Maybe we'll use it, maybe not. Um, let's just see. Look for old store. I think the word old might be factoring some stuff out actually. Wizard Shop's house and keep. So I might actually might want to look through this whole thing. Wizard Shop's house and keeps. So let's actually look through that whole thing. Wait, where did it add it to? Oh, there we go. Yeah. So let's just take a look at what they got here because we might be able to use and just kind of build one, right? So we got inner stairs. We have these turns and bends, big doors, large wood floor. Well, I do like the idea of the wood floor. Um, yeah, so we actually might want to start with just how detailed is this floor? We can probably no, I guess I'll probably use like recommended time here. Oh, it doesn't seem to match up as well as I thought it would, though. You know, hmm. Might try. Yeah, other parts of the floor. Let's look at this. Let's look at these corners. Excuse me. Hmm. Yeah, actually, yeah, the floors might not seem like a good idea, but they just seem like they don't run into each other a lot. So let's look at the rest of the stuff we got here. Hmm. This has to work though. I feel like there's something I'm missing here. So let us. Oh, whoops! It still has the other thing. Yeah, one thing about when you're picking things out of the market, make sure you unclick things because it'll keep on dragging the same things that you clicked earlier over. So you want to make sure that you are always clicking stuff. All right. So actually, you know what? We are going to bring in basically everything that has to do with a floor. We're going to bring that in. So feel like I'm missing something. We're just gonna bring in all these, so we can bring them all in at once. 17 items, and then we'll just kind of split them up here. Let's see what's up. Okay. All right. So now we got all our pieces here. So let's see what we can do. Got some weird text message. Okay. Great. And cool. All right. so yeah, let's see how these floors, because I still feel like the floors don't quite match up with what we have. So let's see where we want to start. So let's start with the corners. All right. So let's move this out of the way. Let's say I wanted like a corner here. Oh, that doesn't even snap to the side. How weird. Um, let's see. Okay, so like that at least fits together somewhat. And then let's say I just wanted just a edge on the right. So I just wanted like this. Okay, that works. So then I can copy that and do another edge on the. And just rotate that one. Okay. All right. So the question is, how do I make this wider? Because I'm trying to get just the. Can I use just this blank piece of? Yeah, it just feels like it. I mean, it works, of course. You know, it just. I don't know. It just feels strange. Yeah. So if I'm closing off that bottom part, maybe it's just meant to only be one section. I guess it's meant to not be lengthened, and that's fine. You know, just have this small little area here, and then I can just place other things around it. So yeah, I think I'm cool with that. It just seems a little weird to me. All right. Almost it almost seems like the things are sized for different things, right? So let's see. So yeah, so I can connect like these. I can probably connect like this one. Oh no, cannot connect that one. Not that one either. Yeah, it almost feels like there's like two different sets here, right? Because this one has like this border around it. It's not really matching up as well as I'd like. All right, so we can do that. Yeah, so that matches up. Can this go there? Let's see. Now I know if you hold down the Alt button, like you can make some more precise adjustments. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. Okay, yeah. So I mean, I could make it work, just by using Alt to kind of more carefully curate things. But the problem with that is then you kind of have to do it with everything because then you have to like adjust a whole bunch of stuff. So it could be a little risky to do that. But I think what I want to do is I want to I want to create like four of these basically. Because remember, this is like a windmill. This is like a windmill factory. So I'm thinking of trying to. What kind of map am I working on? I'm working on basically a factory. It's like an old factory. Um, and I'm just trying to get the basics of what it looks like. Um, and I guess by old factory, in terms of the map that we're in terms of the time that we're in, it is a present factory. So it's like it's not old the to the people where we are, but it's in terms of the style of it, it would be old. Grab Oh, actually, I might. Want to undo that. Oh no, I don't think I can undo that. No. Oh no. I'm gonna have to move this thing away piece by piece. Yeah, sometimes you can't undo the like the copy and paste thing. Okay, well that worked out all right. What do they manufacture? Well, so we know that they provide the power to the town because they have the windmill, so they are like a window like a plant, right? Um, other than that, um, I'll say people don't really know what they manufacture. They know that they do the wind, right, and that they do the power, and then that people that work here help make sure that the town is powered. But like it's not like they're manufacturing products, right? So they're not like they don't have an assembly line of stuff. So I mean, maybe factory is the wrong word, but it's the word that we're sticking with since since we already said it at the end of the last episode. All right, so I'm gonna remove these things for now. So I want to have one like that. Whoa, what is that? Oh, I don't want it to include that. Rotate this thing. So I want one here. I want one here. Oh no, it's like off the map. No. Oh, there we go. Sweet. Want one of these to be up. And then I want one of these to be some of this stuff over here, so I have room to paste. Or, of course, I could just move all these to that unused asset page as well. I just wanted to keep them here, just so I could look at everything and like get a sense of it. So they could be making things in the town, doesn't know what's going on inside the actual building. They could be doing nefarious things. Yeah, I mean, could be something like that. You know, I don't want to have it be too big just because there's only one episode left. And I kind of don't want to introduce a whole new subplot. Like I kind of want to finish and deliver on the existing plot, of which we have a lot of threads to, right? So, and that brings up a good point. Just a general story creation point. I mean, it applies to GM prep, but also applies to, I think, if you're creating any kind of story, right? Whether it's a book or you're writing stuff or creating plays or anything. I usually try to not do any major plot reveals. Um, well, not plot reveals. Any major like new plots um, in like the last third of a story, right? So I try to introduce everything, and then the last third is like the overlap and sort of the either the like solidification of things or making sure that we can deliver on either like stopping something or combining with something or that kind of stuff, right? But that might be something if we do get, you know, into a season two. Like that definitely could be, a good plot line that we can go on for sure. Um, all right, now let me get a fourth one. Yeah, I got to make sure it's only selecting these blocks, not the ones from the other one. And I could group them, but I'm not grouping them yet. All right, so we paste and then return. All right. Okay. Where's that one? I thought there was like a yeah, like this. Let's see if this can work. Separate these out a little bit. Just put that there. This up here. Put this all the way over there and lower this one just a tad. Just so we got some space to work with here. And does this actually match up? This seems like it's supposed to match with the grid, but it really doesn't. And I don't remember using Alt to rotate that one, so that's kind of weird why it doesn't match up completely. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, all these look a little bit rotated. A little strange. Uh, yeah, I think I guess when I press Alt on that first one, it kind of slightly changed things around. This is from the asset pat, Wizard Shops, Houses and Keeps. So if you search for that on the Roll 20, marketplace. You should be able to grab that. Yeah, I didn't notice it before, but yeah, all these were tilted just slightly. But even when they're not tilted, if you look at where the stuff is, this is aligned like in the middle of the box. So I would need something that is in the middle, but these walls are all like at the end of the grid lines. So this one actually looks like it could work. I think it's a little too high though. A little too high. Pretty sure they're only roll 20. Uh, but one of the mods can probably answer that question. Let's see. This one looks like it's in the middle. Hmm. Basically, just want to connect these in like oh yeah, all these things are a little bit tilted, but I think I can rotate the whole thing together. All right. Hmm. Yeah. So I'm liking this idea. I'm essentially trying to make a windmill inside of the like part of the map looks like a windmill, right? It's a windmill factory. So like part of the map I want to look kind of like a windmill. So maybe I just won't have anything like connecting them. Maybe it's just like yeah. I think that's the issue is I'm trying really hard to connect them, and I guess they just don't really have that in here, and I don't want to be pressing Alt for every single one because then if I move anything around, um, gonna turn everything off. So I'm just gonna keep it so that wait, does that fit? No, it does not. All right, yeah. So I'm just gonna keep it like this, and I'm just gonna spread these things all the way out. But I'm gonna leave these things on the edges. Right, so this one's gonna go there. That's gonna go there. This one's already over there. And then this one. And this one we're gonna move around a bit so I can get all the way there at the bottom. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So like now I have like some flexibility where I can kind of make things myself. So I'm actually gonna get rid of this stuff for now because I can always go to the map pack and drag some stuff on there later. All right. So now I just want to look for a just a floor. Give me a floor. I do want kind of like a floor that's different from these, obviously. And let's see if factory floor would be a thing. I don't think it would probably, but you never know. Factory floor or store floor. Any one of those things. Whoa, what is that? Look at that. Jeez. Vile tiles. I like the name of that. Copy to library. Steam Tech. Team Punk. I like that. Copy to library. Metal dungeon floor. Interior factory. You know what? That might be a good. just see something here. I put that there, and then I send this to the back. Huh. I'm trying to look for a way where I can have these on here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to delete this for now, but I'm going to go ahead and I am going to group each of these together. Yeah, so the advantage of grouping is that you can move the whole thing without worrying about individual parts. Helps there. So I'm going to group, and I'm going to make these objects or like tokens. Token. And then I do want to try bringing in that. What is in here? Is it just one thing? So this will be to the back, and then if I go to my token layer, hey, I didn't want to. There we go. Oh. Yeah, so these can kind of be in this room. Okay, I think that works out. I won't share why these are in here, but they are in here. Let's just move these around a little bit more. No. Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes when you group things together, you can still, not mess something up, but you can still like move one piece of it inadvertently. All right, this is where we're gonna use our art liberally, our alt liberally. Okay. All right. All right. I think we're good. Okay. So we got. So I actually like this because like this will be like Windmill Factory 1, and then I like that other one. We can call that Windmill Factory 2, and then we can decide kind of like which one. I'll decide actually which one I'm gonna use during game time because as you can see here, I have a lot of maps, but I haven't used all of them because I like to have options, and at the very least, it'll inspire me for like a different game. You know, expand this out. Yeah, this is definitely a map. And cool. So then we got that. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna rename these. I'm gonna name this one and that one 2. Put that over there. Cool. So now what I want to do is I want to take some of those things that we put in the chem tea factory, and I want to place them into this factory, like some of those boxes that we have. Let's try that. Whoa, that's weird. I just got a text about the House passing a statehood bill for DC. Has that ever happened before? Um, it would create a 51st state, but leave the National Mall, the Capitol Hill, and White House under congressional control. Wow, I didn't even know that happened. I mean, I don't know if that means that it'll actually pass, but it's interesting. Always hear from my DMV fans about how strange it is to live somewhere where you don't have, that representation. So interesting. All right, cool. Yeah, so now we got this map. So let's go to our ChemT map, the one that we looked at earlier. Take some of these boxes. Oh, wait, oh, I think those boxes are just part of the map. I thought they were objects I put there. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's actually part of the whole map. Oh, so I can't do what I was thinking of doing. But that's okay. We can just make some boxes. We can just search for boxes. Yeah, these will be maps and tiles. So yeah, good old boxes. That's what we're searching for. Anything that sounds cool, like cultist layer, yes. Old Western buildings, yes. So like that's how I build out that library. It makes the searches go a lot faster when it's just searching through your library. So I'll suggest anytime you see something that looks even a little bit good, like copy the whole thing over to your library. Because there's sometimes where I'll just peruse, like I won't search for things. I'll just go to the library. I'll look for something that looks cool, and then just like put that in there. Cool. We can definitely have some of this stuff around. Whoa, why is that like? There we go. Yeah, those are cool. These look a little out of place, but those are fun. Um, yeah, so there's times where I'll just go through here and just look through and like just say, hey, let me see what's in this token set because I know I download this stuff here for a reason, So I'll find all kind of cool stuff here that might inspire me for something else, you know. So I kind of like having stuff in the library instead of having to go through the entire marketplace every time. Also, as you notice, when you search for something, it searches your library first and then the marketplace, right? Um, so I think that's cool because obviously the library stuff comes up a lot quicker because it's searching, a small subset of the marketplace. All right. Okay. So let's move around some of these boxes. Quite large. Yeah, so let's place some boxes around. Okay. And then we have in. And ooh, I just thought of what I can connect this with, actually. Another map that we have not used. Let's make sure I still have it. I'm not going to say which one, but let's see. Yeah, right. I have a first floor for the Chadwicks too. Um, we did have some things that happened in there, but I chose not to break out the map because one thing about when you're playing with this kind of stuff is when you break out a map, you'll find that sometimes it can limit players, like surprisingly. If you just do like a theater of the mind thing and you let them create the situation, it's not as visual, which especially when you're streaming a game can be a bit of a con. But the pro is that, like the player will describe exactly what they want to do as opposed to looking at the map and saying, well, like, can I really do that? You know? So like it's like very vivid. Um, and I think that that power of description is it looks good to the audience and it kind of gives the player a sense of investment in like I created like this situation whether I rolled dice or not, you know. So I always say don't put everything in a map. Definitely have some maps to go. I mean, as you see, I like building maps, and there's a lot of maps here. But I don't put everything in a map. I haven't had a map for every single scene that we've had up, right? I've had maps obviously for the mine cart and the stuff with the dynamic lighting. I obviously want to have maps there because that was like a mechanic that they had to figure out. Um, but for every other scene, like for all the school scenes, I didn't have a map. For the scenes at people's houses, I didn't have a map, right? So yeah, so like there's a whole bunch of weird stuff going on. Okay, all right. So I feel pretty good, at least about the basics of this. Um, Now I do want to flesh out a little bit that forest map that we worked on last time. So if you remember, we had the outside. So we had a forest map, and we had kind of a tower, and we had some characters here. We had some people that were kind of guarding the tower, and we had like kind of like a kid in the back. Um, yeah, so we have this. Again, I won't say how this incorporates into the story, but we do have this, and I have this in my back pocket. I don't want to, as I said, I don't want to be throwing too many maps at the players next game. But it kind of depends on what they're feeling, right? I want to make sure I could move the stuff around. So we have that in the forest, and then we also have like some bedrooms in in here, and then we also have inside we have like that like weapon area. Remember that bow and arrow area that I had, because the idea is that this would be in the forest where the Doomsday Preppers live, right? And that they would, they kind of live out in the forest, they hunt, and all that kind of stuff. But possible we might have to use these for something else. So yeah, so yeah, I think it's I don't know. I think this is a hard one for me because, as I said before, I don't like to overload my players, but sometimes it can be cool to sort of just throw a lot at them and see what sticks. And like you want to do it in a controlled manner, but you definitely want to be able to maybe give them just a hint of something. So I've had times where I've had players have dreams and they dreamed about a map, right? So their dream took place on a map, you know. So it's not something that's physically in the world, but it's something that kind of manifested in their dreams, you know. So I could go that route, right? I could have one of these things be sort of a dream, and maybe it gives them like some sort of hint on what to do, or that thing. If you notice on the stream, I give hints pretty liberally. I do love puzzles, but I don't like frustrating people with puzzles, you know? And you always I know that for most people that like I play with, they're used to puzzles either being too hard or making them feel silly, or like you're trying to get like one over on them as the GM, like haha, I'm smarter than you. And I don't like to play with that kind of adversarial like relationship. There's definitely some tables where everyone loves that and wants that, like they kind of want to beat the DM. Like it's kind of like you're playing like blackjack in Vegas or something. Like everybody allies against a common enemy. But I just don't like how that feels. And at the end of the day, like playing's about having fun, right? Like I feel like kind of setting up that PvP like that like adversarial part. It's just not cool. So all right, cool. So let me know if anybody has any questions, because that is the main map stuff that I wanted to do. Well, no, I guess I can continue to add. I can add some details to these. Oh, whoops! Whoa! Did not want to do that. I just noticed that like this one has a little bit of an opening. There we go. I know that was like super picky, but sometimes you gotta be picky. All right, so yeah, so let's add some other things in this factory. Let's add in. So yeah, this is the school. Um, yes, let's add in a cart. Let's add in a cart here. Okay. Yeah, so I'm looking for things from previous maps to add on here that I had as tokens. Well, I definitely did not use that. I don't know why I have that high up. I might have ended the last stream with that as an idea, but I think we're good. Yeah, there wasn't anything there yet. Still cranking on this map. How am I doing? I'm doing well. Doing well. Thank you for asking. Um, oh well, I just moved XSplit by mistake. Thank God it didn't crash again. Like, what is that? Oh yeah, so we had this quarry map that we didn't really use the way I originally planned it to be out, but we did feature it. So like Meadow did find this quarry map, so we might bring that back. Coffin, this coffin here, and do want to take this. Take our little chalice here. And for some other stuff that we've seen. Turnip stuff. And the keypad. Right, and let's look for another asset from the past. Fancy stuff. I think we could just grab a turnip. Yeah. Let's just grab a turnip from the turnip grounds here. Object for sure. Okay. Cool. Because I think I'm done moving these windmills. I think I'm gonna make these. Oh my God! Stop moving! Stop doing that! Stop doing that! I just want to do that so I can easily move these things on top of these. So actually, yeah, it might make sense to move them first and then put the object back on side of them. So map layer. Okay. All right. Cool. So I won't mention what that's for, but definitely something I wanted to do to kind of bring things together. Can 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 always use more turnips. That's right. All right. So yeah. I think I think you make a good point about the turnips. Let's it's true. You can never have too many turnips. So let's put some more turnips on there. There is your turnip quotient satisfied? There we go. It'll do. Yeah, I don't want to cover the whole thing too much. All right. All right. So sorry, trying to answer some questions. All right. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, because if not, might end the stream a little bit early, or well, like I won't end it early, but it'll be more talking, and less about the maps because I wanted to talk. So yeah, put any questions you have in the finale. I mean, not in the finale, in the chat. But I want to talk a little bit about wrapping up stories. Right, I've been touching on it a little bit, but I kind of touched earlier about making sure that you wrap things up in a satisfactory manner that doesn't close every single thing off. Like you don't want to end with like the universe being destroyed or something. It might be hard if you want to continue. with that arc. Um, but one thing that I did want to touch on that I didn't talk about earlier was um, if you are playing in the kind of game where you feel like you want to end certain characters or character arcs, then it might make sense to go a little big on the finale in terms of closing things out. Because if your players don't mind rolling new characters, or if they've been with those characters for a while and they're kind of looking for a story reason to either start a new character or have a significant change on a character, like maybe they die and get resurrected, right? Or like maybe they get mutated into some other kind of character, which can enable some multi-classing options or and that kind of stuff, right? So sometimes you can have sort of a cataclysmic end, but I would always make sure you have that buy-in with your players. And obviously you don't have to spoil them on how you want to do it, but I think kind of having that conversation with them about like, do you want to end with these characters as they are but stronger, or do you want just to roll new ones, because these characters like heroically went out to save something, right? Or they're or the characters are just getting boring to the players. I mean, sometimes if you've been playing a character for a while, you know, like in the other D&D game, sorry, in the D&D game that I play called Rivals of Waterdeep, I've been playing a character called like Shaka, right? A tiefling warlock, and I've been playing him for 3 years. Um, but what's kept him fresh is I've always talked with the person that's DMing about a different thing that Shaka could do. So I've had him like switch patrons, which is like the deity that like patrons for all intents and purposes. If you're not familiar with warlocks and patrons, you just like pledge your services to some kind of deity, right? So I had him actually switch that. I saw him take on a new class because of that. So I lost a bunch of my old spells and gained some like new ones. And also, I made sure that he was really affected by a location that we went to, which was essentially like a large prison called Revel's End in a really, really frozen part of that area called Icewind Dale. And I had him go through a pretty significant kind of like character change because he was clearly scared of prison, and it kind of changed him into a different person. So those kind of things I talked about with with my GM. Now I did GM for some of those seasons, but for most of them I didn't. Right. So making sure those lines of conversations are open. If you do want to change, if you do want things are fresh. You don't want to try to say, I want to surprise people, so I'm not telling people anything, unless you've gotten buy-in from your players where they're like, I want to be surprised. Personally, I always find that as a big risk because what's surprising to you and you know and like satisfying to you might not necessarily carry over. And like also, I feel like it gives people a bigger reason to violate those lines and veils if they try to go for for something that's too big or things. So everything's a balancing act. You know. Um, all right. Well, I think I'm gonna hop off a couple minutes early because I do have a meeting at 12. But thank y'all for joining. Very happy to be here. As I said, I know I missed the last two because of various sicknesses, plus getting over the second vaccine shot, which basically gave me the flu for 3 days. I had like, obviously vaccines, they're injecting a weaker version of the virus in you, right, to build up your antibodies. But, yo, I was out. So I had to cancel so many things. So thank y'all for joining. We will continue with these prep streams. Um, and have a great day. Make sure to check us out Mondays at 10 a.m. Central at twitch.tv/roll20app, which you see on the bottom here. And then all the other links have links to the archives for our show and the archives for all the other shows. Um, you know, Definitely check out like Masood Hawk and Shoe Mason on Stir Friday night. Shoe plays Winter on the Kids on Bike show and is also on that show. and she's awesome. Make sure to check out Markia, right? On like a her on like a her work with the hunter with a hunter entertainment and level up. Like she's doing a really awesome altered carbon like campaign, where like they are doing this like dual thing where they're streaming it from like one perspective on the hunter channel and then another perspective on the level up channel. Really, really cool idea, and it's been going great. Make sure to check out Kaylee Bray. She's the community manager over at The Walking Dead. So if you're a Walking Dead fan, you probably are already familiar with her. If like you watch their like coverage on Twitch and all that stuff. And she also does the like a Danville's Dice and Everything Nice, um, where they play D&D as Disney princesses, which is really funny. You know, who is the carbon campaign being run by? Yes, so Markia is the GM for that campaign. So she's running it. Very interesting to see her. She's a really great she does voices great. Obviously she's like been like acting for like a while. Sorry, I just noticed I put Google up on the screen, which I should not have. um, yeah, I just want to bring up Justin's stuff. So Noir, um, Enigma, because like he does a bunch of stuff. Yeah, so like he's a co-founder of Critical Misses, and like he has a coffee up. He's been putting up a bunch of songs too, because like he's a singer as well. So if you go to his Twitter account, he's been putting up a bunch of like songs. Like he has a Adele and Critical Role crossover. I mean that sounds awesome, right? And like yeah, so yeah, he just has a bunch of cool stuff that's going on. So um, all right, y'all. I'm out. Have a great week and see y'all later.